Welcome everyone. Today we have a video to look at when is high constellation 4-star units better than 5 stars. Of course, there is the short answer we'll look at, and also we'll look at what each constellation means, what are the 3 types of constellation upgrades, and also I'll go into details for each of the characters that are mostly DPS characters at what constellation and what are the specialties for those. After that, we'll have a comparison example with Xiangling and Diluc for the pile DPS characters for the constellation different stages, and finally, what are my recommendations for 5-star characters and how should we plan ahead. Before we go deeper into the guide, in case you guys are not aware, constellations are over here in the character slot, and those are unlocked with each duplicate of the same character. For example, for most of the 5 stars, it's very hard to unlock them. That's why we have the comparison, because it's so rare to get the first 5-star like Venti, Klee, but it's even harder to get the second one. That's why we're looking to characters like Noel here who has 5 constellations unlocked. We want to see at what point do those 4 stars become even stronger than the 5 stars. And for all the friends out there who are here for the short answer, yes, most Constellation 6 characters or C6 characters with 4 stars are stronger than the 5 stars. Of course, the 5 stars have unique abilities like Venti allows you to fly, but with enough duplicates, the 4 stars are very powerful. Also keep in mind guys, the 5-star characters can also find more duplicate, although it's very rare, but the 5-star characters with duplicates makes them extremely powerful. But for our sake, with low spending and free-to-play players, it's going to be difficult to get anywhere between Constellation 1 or 2 with 5 stars. So we assume all the 5 stars are at no duplicates. And also, people do and should be aware of this. Limited early resource means it's safer to build for the 5-star characters unless you already have a Constellation 4 or plus 4-star character. If that's not the case, it's always safer to build the 5 stars because in the future you might get a duplicate and they become stronger. Currently in the game, there are 3 types of constellation upgrades as you get duplicates. The first type is a defensive type, which gives you additional healing, shield, or bonus defense. The second type is usually related to skills and passives that gives you 3 skill level ups for the current skill, which translates into about 15 to 25% additional damage for that particular skill. We'll go into the skill constellations in details after. And finally, there is the damage boost. The damage boost looks at the elemental, physical, reduced enemy defense or resistance, which allows your character or even the whole team to do more damage. Let's use Noel as an example over here for the constellation. You can see that her first passive gives her more healing effectiveness. After that, we're getting increased damage with her charge attack. And after that, we're getting level ups. So you can see the variety of the 3 different skills. But Noel really exceeds after Constellation 4 because she gains additional 400% attack and shield damage to the surrounding enemies with her shield ability. So not only is defensive, healing, and also offensive now. And that makes her so much more powerful. Now, out of the 3 types of constellations, the skill passives are often underrated because people don't look into how valuable they are. Now, what does 3 plus additional skill level cap means? This actually exceeds the skill level cap. I had a viewer who asked me the question, and when I checked it, I realized how powerful it is. For each talent level up, we're looking at 5 to 8% of the damage increase for that particular skill. In order for a better comparison of what each level means, we can look at the value changes. The value changes are looking at 5 to about 8% changes between the 2, and you can see everything is adjusted accordingly. The percentage, also the flat damage. What that kind of translates for us is 5 to 8%, and for 3 levels, that's at 15 to 24% increased damage for that skill. And the level ups for level 6 is very costly. It costs 120,000 Mora per level on to level 7, and after that 260k Mora for the next level. Not only that guys, you also need weekly boss items. Let me just show you guys a comparison. What I meant by that is, see, some of the constellations will upgrade your particular E spell and your burst spell. And you can see to level this spell up, I need a Develance Plum, and that is a weekly item. I have not been able to get one. And on top of that, it's very expensive. So most of my skills are stuck at level 6. But if we come back to Noel over here, if you look at her skill, you can see there's a blue aura around it. I mean, it's teal, right? It's a teal aura around it. What that means is she actually got a talent plus 3. This does not seem much at the start of the game, but when you're level 6, you become level 9 with that spell. And that's when the spell becomes so much more potent and more defensive, effective, and stronger. Because it's so hard to even go further into level 7, going to level 8, imagine going to level 9, I can't even imagine it. But if I get Noel to level 9, that becomes a level 12 spell. So this is a very underrated factor for Constellation. Now, if you haven't subscribed, this is a really good time to do so. Make sure you also turn the bell on for the latest news as I find more of them for us. You can see that we're really dedicated for Genshin Impact. We'll have builds, guides, tips, news, and events updates for everything that's Genshin Impact related. Now that we talk about how powerful the constellations can be, we're going to go to each of the 4-star characters which are more relevant. We'll be focusing on the DPS characters because they are usually the ones we're going to invest our limited resource into them. The support characters can stay on level 60, level 50, or even level 40, but the DPS characters are going to stay on the field. They need to do damage, so they're going to be level 60, 70, or even going to level 80. We'll be looking at Noel with Constellation 4, Sockers at C2, and Xiangling, Lisa, Razor, Bidu, and Bennett. So there's quite a few 4-stars we want to look at. Now, if you guys see the tab up here, you can see that I have Noel ready with Sakura ready. So I have all of those characters ready with the special constellations. But instead of me going for each of the tabs, I made the summary over here. You can see that at C4 for Noel, she gains 400% attack bonus with her shield. With Sakura's, level 2 means she gains increased charges and duration for her spells. With Xiangling, he gains increased energy regen when he attacks under enemies who are debuffed by cryo. And for Lisa, it's a massive damage boost for her burst spell, which has 1 to 3 additional attacks. For Razor, it's reducing the enemy defense by 15%, and this helps the whole party to do more physical damage. Keep in mind guys, those are the level that unlocks with the Constellation level. I'll use Bidu as the example over here. So if we come to Bidu, at Constellation 4 over here, you can see that within 10 seconds of taking damage, which, we do take damage, Bidu's normal attack gains 20% electro damage. And that is pretty massive. So that means 20% damage increase if you're doing an electro damage build for Bidu. And most people do run her that way, because she's an electric character and she's a DPS. So this is why I've been highlighting those for you guys. Now the final character, so this is a small highlight for us. Bennett is a super strong DPS support. He's not here to do damage, but he's a support. Because in the end game, when you have a lot of resource, you can build Bennett for higher damage. The higher damage he has, he gives the entire party 76% bonus damage at C1. And at Constellation 6, he gives the entire party 15% more bonus pyro damage. Let's have a look at Bennett over here. So Constellation 1, when the base damage is 20% additional, so he gives the entire party 56% of his base damage, and then that becomes 76%. At Constellation 6, if the entire party of the members uses Sword, Claymore, or Polearm, which are the most DPS characters, he will be giving them 15% pyro damage boost. Unfortunately, my Klee is also a DPS character, but she's a Claymore user, so she can't make use of Xiangling's Constellation 6. Not that I have him to Constellation 6, I only have one copy of him, but I can still make use of his ultimate while standing under his buff. We get the 56% of his attack. Now I'm sure some of you might be wondering, hey, why would people go for 5 stars then? Aren't the 4 stars really good? The difficult part for the 4 stars is to get multiple duplicates of them. And we're going to use an example for Xiangling and Diluc over here for a more detailed comparison. To start things off, Diluc might seem very strong at the short burst for cryo damage because his higher multipliers, his instant damage dealing, but for Xiangling at Constellation 4, she is kinda on par or even slightly better in the long run for damage because her Pinato is stronger with plus level 3 level cap, and also it lasts 40% longer, means more damage over time. She also reduces pyro defense, and also Constellation 6 gives Xiangling 15% pyro damage for the whole party. If we come over to see Diluc over here, you can see that his normal attack multipliers are higher than Xiangling. So how do I do this? We just tap between. I'm so bad with technology. So you can see the normal attack multipliers are stronger by quite a bit. Xiangling is a lance user, Diluc Claymore, so in terms of weapon, there isn't that much difference, both are pretty strong. And you see that Diluc base attack are higher, and you can see Xiangling's base attack are not as high. So this is the first difference with the 5-star characters. And second to that, you can see that Diluc can burst damage with Pyro in 4 sweep attacks, and those are very powerful. For Xiangling, she cannot increase her attack frequency with Cobra. Cobra will puff damage at 111% every few seconds for the remaining 12 seconds, but this was nerfed. Previously, this was a 6-second cooldown, and now it's making Xiangling a god tier unit. but they nerfed that to 12 seconds. For Diluc, it's a 10-second cooldown, so he's got a shorter cooldown, and his damage is higher with Pyro Burst. And finally, if we look at the ultimate, Xiangling's damage is not bad with the multiple hits, and the dealing damage on his path is pretty nice. Duration for 10 seconds. Diluc has an initial burst, and followed by that damage over time. He also buffs himself into pyro damage, and enhancement duration, the cost of energy is really low, and this is why Diluc is a really powerful 5-star, guys. I'm not trying to say he's weaker. In all respect, if we compare the 3 characters, Diluc is slightly stronger. To be fair, people pay money for Diluc, and people treasure him a lot, so he is stronger. But what really counts is Diluc's Constellation makes him much stronger with damage, but he doesn't get those because most of us only have him with 1 copy. So this is when Xiangling shines. If we come over here, we're going to ignore the passive for now. So when we come over here, reduce enemies' resistance for Pyro means you're doing 15% more damage. That compensates for some of the lack of damage of Xiangling compared to Diluc. And then, if you look next part, she deals 75% of Xiangling's attack as AoE Pyro, increase her AoE potential and more damage. After that, her Pinoto duration is increased by 40% and level by 3. That means her ultimate now has more damage. And her Goba Med is getting more level ups, means more damage. Finally, all party members gain 15% pyro damage increase. So in total, Xiangling is looking at about 25 or 30% increased damage, 75 potential for triggering the AoE burst and additional damage. So with the Constellations, Xiangling is potentially stronger than Diluc after Constellation 4, and definitely stronger after Constellation 6. Keep in mind, guys, this is also subject to other factors like the weapons you have, like the other parts of the level of the characters, like the artifacts you have. We're going to assume those are same for both. So now we're going to come to a very important part. I like to give you guys information. I also like to recommend suggestions of how to use those information. So the next part is the recommendation for the 4-star characters. We're going to consider using 4-star characters as we cap out with the main team. Usually main team do have a few of the support characters, do have a few of the 5-stars, or maybe you have the 4-stars already. So main characters usually cap out at level 70 or 80 as your adventure level slows down at 35 and 40. Now we want to always plan ahead. If you go into the game, you can see the rate up banners. I'll show you guys the rate up banner, and I'll show you guys how is it possible to get more duplicates. You can see that in the limited banner for Klee, which still have about 12 days, there are 3 characters who are rated up. Noel, with Xingqiu, and also Sakurus. Those 3 characters are very highly likely as you pull on those banners, you're getting them about 30% of the time of each of them. Because it's harder to get Klee, but it's very easy to get those 4-stars. So Noel for Klee, for example. Now after that is, can you actually go into the limited banner? Are you going to roll in the limited banner? Do you want Klee? If you want Klee, if you don't get hurt, the surprise bonus or the compensation reward is that you get more Noels and Sakurus. Similar to me, I got about 5 Noel and 5 Sakurus. And what that means is I can potentially get the Constellation to level 6 very soon. And I'm still considering if I need to get there or if I just wait for it. So I'm 1 away for both of them, and you can see my Xingqiu is over here, 2 away. And how much did I roll on those? I believe we rolled about, it was 50 the first time. It was it 80 or 50? I believe we rolled about 120 to 130 rolls on the Klee banner to achieve what we have. So we got 1 Klee, we got Noel to here, we got Sakurus over here, and we got, where's Qi? We got Xingqiu over here. So we're missing only 4 copies of all the characters together. So 1 for each and 2 for Xingqiu. Next up, can you use the 4-star characters as a support? In Xiangling's case, with comparison to Diluc, you can definitely use her as a support. She reduces pyro defense. She gives pyro damage. Diluc loves her. Diluc's like, yo girl, do your thing and I'm gonna smack them. And this is a good thing. If the 4-stars get more Constellation, can you have a support DPS? Similarly, you can go with Burnett as a support DPS, and this can be very helpful. Next up, consider if the double elemental party resonance really helps you. Now in case you guys want a refreshing memory of what those does, so 2 Geo, 2 Pyro over here, you can see everything over here. I won't go through them in detail because I'm assuming you guys know about this, but if you didn't, having 2 of those characters on a party are very powerful. And that's why people love having 2 Pyro characters, because of 20% increased attack. And finally, as we plan ahead, we do know that we need a second party of 4 characters, so 8 characters in total for the Spire boost. And as I go into next week, I am planning to look at boosts into more details to make teams for each of the floors. So this is on my focus as well. After getting most of my characters to level 70 or 80, I'll be looking to build my Noel, my Socrates into at least level 60 for the Spire boost. Now there are also a few other factors I want you guys to consider. Do you have multiple blacksmith copies of the prototype weapon? Can you be crafting weapons for your 4-star characters? Or do you have multiple copies of a gacha weapon that is becoming much stronger because you have so many duplicates? I'll show you guys the example from my effect. So if I go into my inventory of weapons, and you can see that I have a few of the weapons over here. I also made the claymore over here, so white blind. I had 2 copies of the white blind, so that means I'm at rank 2 already. That means my Noel is really happy. So are those weapons ready for your 4-star? And that's something you want to consider. Do you have enough prototype items over here? Where did it go? So over here you see I have 2 lances. Do you have enough of those prototypes to gear up your character if you do happen to get more constellations? So those are the things we can also consider. And similarly, if you do have a spare 5-star character, spare 5-star weapon, of course, the 4-star character can be very powerful with a 5-star weapon because the weapon gives base damage. Each additional 100 damage on the weapon means about 3 or 200 more damage. So don't underestimate the weapon, guys. And finally, as always guys, I talk about playing the game for your enjoyment. If you love Klee, if you love Xiangling for her spells and for her goblet attack and just the way they talk, then play your character to enjoy the style and the skills of the character. You do not have to maximize and efficient everything, because hitting a monster for 7,000 damage or 5,000 damage or 3,000 damage, it just means you click 2 more times. You achieve the same amount of damage with a little more time. So play to your enjoyment is very important. To summarize this video, yes, the short answer is most of the Constellation 6 4-stars are powerful than the 0 Constellation 5-star characters. But be aware guys, usually it's a safer bet to invest your early limited resource into a 5-star character, because they don't usually go wrong. Next up, we had a look at the 3 types of constellations, also why is it underrated for the skill level cap, which can be very powerful for any character. And after that, we had a look at the DPS characters and what constellation do make those 4-star characters much stronger. Finally, we talk about how we compared Xiangling and Diluc as an example, and also the recommended 4-star characters, usage, things to plan ahead, and factors to consider. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and also turn the little bell on for the latest news. I'll be looking towards to make more builds, guides, tips, and news and event updates for us as we come further into the game. And as always, I wish you guys the best of luck with Genshin and have the most fun in exploring this wonderful world.